I used to go to a lot of Giants games too.
It's a bunch of hype to get us to go with the fucking stick. There's nothing wrong with the stick.
I mean, if it's good enough for
It's a dead bunny. It's a dead bunny here in the Greenpeace store.
Things fancy.
Good focus. Oh, really?
I've been through one. It's so cheesy. You drive this whole thing, and then you're supposed to, the one that we did.
I hate when I told the story today, but I was just at the store the other day, and this woman was like, "Do you think this is
I can't just do great grandfather stories on cue. I have to do from the heart. Windy road, but it's only, like 34 miles or something.
wavering and pretending that we can do something else?" You know, it needs to be Do ducks couple for life, or is that just geese?
So I just think that, there's probably prawn in there or something, so setting up cameras.
Hey.
It's so cool.
What's going on here?
I hear tell of some redwoods up the way.
Oh, up until 1908.
Thousands.
Just gonna do that.
Stop that. Get out of the way.
Isn't it good?
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't taste like much.
Hairy like my daddy.
There, and you can take a picture.
No, it's not recording. Now it is.
Ready? Hard to believe, but true. It's a big one.
Yeah?
What is it? Fishy, fishy. Oh.
One's got a black tip, one's got a gold.
Dig a hole, dig a hole. Yeah.
Keeping up nothing. Why do we have to fight? We have to fight for what is our natural rights. It's fine. I said I am.
Boy, with a big fan. Don't feel like, right on.
I am.
I feel like trouble getting into it.
That's because there's so many things.
Is that America?
Weird how there's no man.
We are all gathered here as women to celebrate 500 years of resistance to colonialism and to patriarchy. I'm just going to start out making a couple of announcements. Speaks with media spokesperson, if we have any members.
International Women's Day, and I'd like to express my solidarity with women all over the world, women oppressed, women seeking and activating their own liberation. This poem's called The Wildness of Women. And I've invited the Capoeira group of San Francisco to back me up. They cut out their tongues and make them talk. Strip off their clothes and make them walk. Down by the village in the river of blood. Feel the heat, feel the fire, feel the flood. Feel the flames, feel the wind, feel the mud. My backbone rising, rising from the jungle of my groins to the dark of my circle, from the roots of my forests to the dark fruit of my nothing, nothing, nothingness. The wildness of women is irreversible. The doubleness of women is diabolical. The price of the market has no value. When women give voice, their God is devalued. Ah, now you see, now you don't. Ah, yes, life. Ah, no, death. Women have the power to cure and kill. Women call the powers that touch and thrill. Mountain spirits, flight of birds, the water spirits, the forest herbs. The jungle of man's fear is mirrored in a woman's tears. With feathers and mirrors, she kills and she cures. The wildness of women is unpredictable. The magic of women is unimaginable. Visions of thought made real. Women washing golden lakes. Women spinning space between their legs. Women spewing words in waterfalls. Ah, now you see. Ah, now you don't. Life. Now you see. Death. Now you don't. Ah, yes, life. Ah, no, death. Women have the power to cure and kill. Women have the power to touch, to thrill. Mountain spirits, flights of birds, water spirits, forest herbs. The jungle of man's fear is mirrored in a woman's tears. With the feathers and mirrors, we kill and we cure. So cut off our tongues and make us talk. Strip off our clothes and make us walk. Down by the village in the river of blood, feel the heat, feel the fire, feel the flood, feel the veins, feel the wind, feel the mud, feel our backbones rising up from the jungle of our groins to the dark of our circles, from the roots of our forest to the dark fruit of our souls. You come to us, why? To be cured or to be feared? You come to us, why? Because you love us or because you hate us? You come to us in an endless caravan of horses and people with hooves and feet, drumming across the bridge of fate, across the Pacific, across the peaks of mountains and foothills and rainforests, through green valleys and quiet deserts, with your guns and your diseases, with your Bibles and your prayers. There is no refuge, there is no cure, no milagro, no thought from the book of magic, the book of Mahia, rosemary, romero for insomnia and nightmares, marigold for inflammation, garlic for infections, quinine for baldness, china root for kidneys, chamomile for digestion, rhubarb for diarrhea, ginseng, stimulate the blood, paradiro to stimulate fertility, to samadre, to inhibit fertility, beer fat for rheumatism, spangle for nerves, artemisia for sorcery, a rabbit's foot for good luck. But there is no cure for the sorcery of modern madness, no cure for the magic of corporate technology, for the filth of chemical creations are irreversible, and the greed of the conquest is insatiable, and the power of wealth is demonic. So cut off our tongues, strip off our clothes, we will talk, we will walk, we will talk, we will walk into the cities with blood on our skins, with the fire, with the blood, with the wind, with the mud, and our backbones will rise from our hearts, from our groins, with feathers, mirrors, candles, and bells. We shall conquer, and we shall cure. Thank you. Two business things I had to do right now. I wanted to introduce our next speaker, who's Anna Kalmar.
Just like Germany must teach about the Holocaust, the U.S. needs to teach history and history from the point of view of the oppressors. Americans were appalled when they uncovered the Gestapo pickups of Jews. Well, we have the same thing here today. When the INS deports Mexicanas, Salvadoreños, Guatemaltecas, sending them back to be tortured and murdered by governments funded by our U.S. tax dollars, we, women of color and women not of color, all of us must begin to govern ourselves. We must no longer tolerate the laws of a government that do not represent us. We must demand that our hard-earned tax dollars are spent on our people needs and not on the desires of corporate America.
Wear combat boots. That's at the Ashby Bar tomorrow, the 8th at 2 o'clock. The Mission Cultural Center is hosting a women's art show by event. We're very honored to have her speak to us today. And she's with a representative from the International Indian Treaty Council. Woo! Oh, there you are. Andrea, thank you very much.
Liosem Chania, greetings women. Ako, why am my sisters, older sisters, younger sisters,
my aunts, my grandmas, my nieces, my daughters, greetings on this beautiful day. We're all women. We are born to resist the death machine. We will continue to resist the death machine for the sake of our children, our grandchildren, and all of the unborn of this land. I'd like to start by telling you a prophecy because we have knowledge handed down from generation to generation that tells about this very dangerous time that we're living in today. This story is from the Kiowa people, and the story is the story of a mother lion, a mountain lion, a lion of this hemisphere. And she's nursing 3 cubs, and the cubs are nursing and nursing. Those of you who are like me, who are nursing mothers, know how thirsty you get. The baby is nursing and nursing, and she wants to get up to get something to drink and something to eat. But these cubs are greedy, and they won't let her get up. And they keep nursing and nursing, and she's starting to get mad because she's running out of milk. So she growls at them, swats at them a little bit. They won't move. Pretty soon she runs out of milk, and these cubs start eating at her flesh, eating and eating. And finally, the mother lion turns around, and with a swipe of her paw, she kills the cubs so that she can go on to live to have more cubs. And the story says, this prophecy says that these cubs represent the human generations. And of course, the mother mountain lion is our Mother Earth. And these human generations here on this land, here all over our Mother Earth, have been taking and taking without giving back, without allowing her to replenish herself. And now we're at the point where she's warning us, she's growling at us. We say that the earthquakes, the floods, the changes in the climate, all of these things are warnings from our Mother Earth. And why don't we listen instead of being like those greedy cubs? This year, 1992, is the most important year that we've had for the last 500 years because it's making people stop and think about these things. Do we have another 500 years of the same? Or are these things just going to continue? On International Women's Day, I want to thank everybody here for coming out. But I want to also take a chance, take the opportunity to send our love and our thoughts and remember those women who are forgotten, the women who are not able to be here in the sunshine today, the women who are political prisoners, like our sister Norma Jean Croix, political prisoners locked up in colonial dungeons all over this hemisphere, the women who are widows, the women who are being tortured, the women who are political prisoners, the elder women, the most respected women in the indigenous culture, who are the most forgotten, disrespected, and discounted women in this dominant society that's come to be imposed upon our lands here. Those elderly women that are shut away in nursing homes, other places like that, after caring for people all their lives, and nobody's there to care for them. Nobody's going to listen to their wisdom. I want to remember them. I want to remember all of the women who are battered, who are raped, who are being abused from childhood on. Our organization is a non-governmental organization that sits at the Commission on Human Rights. And we recognize that abuse against women around the world is probably the single most underlooked at human rights violation that exists. Woo. Who is standing for the forgotten women? Let it be us. I'm speaking also to you European women whose struggle against oppression goes way back before ours ever started as women. Those tactics, those techniques that they came here and used on us 500 years ago were used on you women for hundreds and hundreds of years before that. And they killed your women of power. They killed your medicine women and burned them at the stake. And I want to remember with honor all of those women of your people, the European women who lost their lives because they knew too much and had too much power and too much connection to this, our Mother Earth. So those that killed that connection in their own society came here and have tried to kill it in our societies and upon our land, killing our women, killing our men, killing our children. But most of all, I want to end with remembering that most important and most forgotten women in these days of suffering on this land. And that's our sacred Mother Earth. Because nothing that we ate, nothing that we drank, no clothes we have on our bodies, nothing that we use for the shelter of our homes comes from anywhere else except that one place, from our sacred Mother Earth. She's suffering. She feels those oil wells that are drilled down. She feels the coal being poured out of her body, which is her liver that cleanses our water. She feels all of those mutilations that are being done to her. And worst of all, she feels the killing of her children that's being done with her own mineral resources. Let's remember our mother today, because our children, our grandchildren, have a right to survive. And those people, those men who work up in those tops of these boxes here, we're doing this for your grandchildren too, whether you stop caring about them for whatever crazy reason, for whatever mental illness of greed that you have. We're doing this for your grandchildren too, because those unborn people have a right to survive. Our Mother Earth has rights of her own. She is a living woman. Let's never forget her, because once we forget her, we become part of this oppressor that is killing all of us. Today, and I'll just give one last example of what's going on, even the things that are being done in your name, the uranium mine that's being drilled in the Grandmother Canyon, the Grand Canyon as you know it. The people who are indigenous to that place, the Havasupai people, tell the story of what it is. And I want us to always think about that every time we think about a destruction, a mine, an oil well, a desecration of our Mother Earth. They say that to sink a uranium shaft into that place is to take a pregnant woman, 9 months pregnant, and to put a knife into her pregnant belly. That kind of pain, that kind of tragedy, that kind of destruction is being done to our Mother Earth. If this is International Women's Day, let's raise up a cry for the protection and the rights of our Mother, the Earth, that living, breathing woman that has given birth and continued to sustain all of us. Let's give a cry for the forgotten women who can't join us here today. Let's remember them and continue to struggle. As Indigenous people, as women, we were born to resist the death machine. We will continue to resist it. This is our day, my beautiful sisters. This is our day to lead. This is our day to stop the destruction. This is our day to think about those women in the future generations who, so they can stand here and give birth to their children in peace, in dignity, in harmony, and in health. Thank you. Thank you very much, Andrea. As you're looking at us for speakers and performers, I'm here to represent the two-spirited people, gay Native Americans, American Indian Center. I was just asked to speak a few minutes ago, so bear with me. What I'm here to talk about is that we have been oppressed too. We are not an invisible people within a vanishing nation. We are gay Native Americans. And Norma Jean Crow is not being kept in prison just because she's a woman, just because she's Native American, but she is also a lesbian. We were born as innocent and as free as any of the children among you now, and we are being repressed within a culture. And we're here to say we're here, you know? We're here. You know? I don't know what else to say. Oh, two-spirits. Would you like me to clarify what the two-spirit means? In the Native American culture, if you were born with two spirits, you couldn't be born with the body of a woman or the body of a man, but within that one spirit, you have two spirits. You know, I feel and experience the qualities of male and femaleness every moment of my life, and I live with joy within it, you know, and I want to celebrate that with you. I don't want to live oppressed either as to what I am, and my brothers and sisters in my group want to feel free to be who we are within our culture. Woo! You know, we've been around much longer than 500 years. I feel it in my bones. And within our groups, we've got to stop repressing people's freedom. It's not a choice. It's a natural, what you're born to be and what you feel you are. Thank you.
To announce to you where it is that says that it's out of order, but really it's not out of order.
Nosotras, como lesbianas latinas, pensamos que a través de los años nos hemos dado cuenta que nuestros pueblos y antiguas culturas están vivas.
As Latina lesbians, we have realized that throughout the years, our peoples and old cultures are alive and well.
Que nuestras raíces nos han hecho sentir que es necesario hablar la verdadera historia para que nuestras generaciones tengan el criterio necesario para decidir el gobierno justo y mejor para todos.
That our roots have made us feel that it's necessary to speak about the truth on our history so that the generations to come will have the necessary elements to decide on a better and just government.
En donde se exija que existe el respeto a los derechos humanos de todos los individuos, incluyendo lesbianas y homosexuales.
A government that will respect the human rights of all individuals, including lesbians and gay men.
En este país, la lucha de las mujeres lesbianas latinas continúa trabajando por medio del arte, la política, la cultura y el idioma, aún después de 500 años.
In this country, the struggle of lesbians and gay men continues through art, politics, culture, and language, even after 500 years.
Mexicatlahui.
Ciao.
Fighting against sterilization. So we need to think about that and give them our support. I also would like to thank Fatima and the organizers for helping us to be more visible during this day, okay? Now I'll start with the big test, okay? Capoeira is a form of self-defense combined with music, song, dance, and self-expression with a rich history. Capoeira was born in Brazil and created by the Africans of Angola Bantu tribes who were forcefully brought to Brazil as slaves. It was a means of preserving their cultural heritage while defending themselves against the chains of slavery. In a sense, the roots of Capoeira evolved through the struggle for freedom. It was through the music and song that the slaves in Brazil were able to conceal its combative purpose. In this way, it has survived different types of repression throughout the years. Despite its role as a tool of liberation, Capoeira has not been without its prejudice. For many years, women played a superficial role in Capoeira, like the Angolan slaves' fight for freedom. Today, women are struggling for recognition, equality, and respect as complete capoeiristas. The game of Capoeira requires the use of intuition and foresight, does not rely solely on physical strength. During the game, capoeiristas skillfully expose the limitation of their opponents and engage in playful attacks and counterattacks, thus better enabling themselves to discover the personal power center, which will give you a free class of capoeira, just one class, all the demonstrations. Next, they will begin playing each other together, like, in a big circle. was the original traditional style known as. Okay, then we have Rilene, Ombra, Gloria, Marcos, Taiki, and
ocean behind you and whatnot, and like Jennifer was just saying about Alcatraz and just all the women's energy that just sort of tidal waved us into this place here. And I was asked to just make a couple of statements on behalf of the whole coalition. And, you know, again, I think it's just the scene around here. And here we see the typical American scene, this incredible sea and sky and earth and the mountains behind us. And in the middle we see Alcatraz. And Alcatraz was closed, but it's been replaced by Marion and other control units throughout the country. And as Maria said, there are over 100 political prisoners and prisoners of war now incarcerated. And over 1 million prisoners. The U.S. imprisons more of its population than any other country on earth. And they want, the only thing that people will vote for these days, as they're cutting schools, as they're cutting health care, is more money for prisons, for locking people up. And we know that it's mostly people of color and poor people who end up in prison. There are also over 25 women political prisoners. And they can't be with us today. And as we look out over the sea, we see what they're struggling for. And as we look at Alcatraz, we know the conditions that they face.
we started this event. Women work in jobs, we do all kinds of work. And we recognize we raise the children, we iron the clothes, and we make the breakfast. But something very special that we want to recognize on International Women's Day, that women all over the world recognize in the spirit of our heroes as women, in the spirit of Harriet Tubman, that we also wear boots because we fight, because women also fight, and we lead struggles for liberation. We've led struggles all over the world, and we are leading the struggle in this country, and we want to inspire other women, encourage them not just to look on, not just to read about, not just to think about our heroes like Harriet Tubman, like Aname Akwash, like all the heroes that have gone before us and paved the way so we could be in this spot today, but we want to be them. We want to live our lives to be heroes ourselves because we have a future that we want to enact, and that future is revolutionary. 1, 2, 3, 4, grab your boots and head foot it on. 5, 6, 7, 8, we'll storm out the shit, we won't hesitate. So we're going to do a lot of things today. We're going to have speakers. We're going to have a little tribunal for one of the Supreme Court justices. We're going to talk to Columbus and see how the crowd wants to deal with him today. And we're going to have a little march, and then we're going to march, and we're going to end up someplace very historic for women fighting for reproductive freedoms in this country. We're going to start with... Wait. Right quickly, if you're a speaker and you didn't talk to somebody yet, you need to go over there to the red gold. He's doing. Hello, my name is Crystal Mason, and as Karima said, I'm with ACT UP San Francisco and with WAM Bay Area. And I'm an AIDS activist, but I'm also an activist for gay and lesbian rights, and for the rights of African American people, and for the rights of women, because I'm all of those things, and all those things matter to me. And I know I can't separate those things out, because that's what my life is about. And what I would like to ask of everybody in this crowd is to not let the press and not let the state and the government separate those things out for you. Because when you do that, and we start fighting among each other and the government walks away happy to the bank, while our blood is spilling on the streets, while the blood of our brothers and sisters is spilling on the street and people are dying. And we can't stand for that. And I'm also a direct action activist, which means that I go out on the street and I put my body at great risk because I believe in what I do. And I would like to see a lot of other people out there willing to do that as well, because we can't depend on politicians. We can't depend on this government to save our lives. We have to save our own lives. Yeah! And we have to save the lives of the people that we care about. And we have to save the lives of people that we've never met. Because those people also want to fight. But sometimes they're not able to, and so we have to do it for them until they're there, until they can go out on the streets, until they can feel safe enough to say what they want, to say what they have to live, and to have this government listen to them. And the government won't just give us our rights because it's not to their benefit. So we have to go to places like this and gather around and go out on the streets and demand our rights and tell them we're tired of this shit and we're not taking it anymore. Yeah! Woo! We have to tell them by our actions that it won't be business as usual while people are dying in the streets, that they won't be able to sit in their comfortable houses and drive in their comfortable cars while we're out here dying and getting the shit beat out of us by police officers, and we're hungry and don't have places to live. We can't let them forget that this is going on in this country that they live in and that we live in. And we have to let them know that we're not going to stand for this. And the way we do this is to go out into the streets and to protest and to protest and protest some more. International Women's Day, the march yesterday was 500 years of resistance. We need to keep resisting, and we can't stop. A lot of people out here think that, that there's no more racism. What a pipe dream, man. I mean, I wish there wasn't, but there is, so I still have to fight against it. And all of us have to fight against that. And sometimes, it's really difficult because I work 2 jobs. I do a television show and I put out a magazine, and sometimes it looks like, damn, man, I wish I could take a rest, but I know I can't. Because there's a lot of injustice in this country and in this world, and I'm going to keep fighting until there is no more injustice in this country and in this world. And I would hope that all of you could join me no matter what you have to do, because there's nothing more important than our rights. Thank you.
Tied one woman in the jail cell and beat her up against the wall. And he's harassed women. When they're in custody, he's asking them, you know, you want to come home with me? I hope I can find you in another situation. And it's scary. It's scary when these guys who are supposed to be protecting us are not. They're threatening us, and it's a bad situation. But mostly I want to talk about women who are fighters, because these women are fighting this. They're fighting the abuse. There's women Cop Watch went to a national convention in Chicago last year about police accountability, and we met a lot of women out there who are fighting these abuses. There's a group in Seattle, it's called Mothers Against Police Harassment, and these are mothers who've had their sons beaten up and their sons arrested for no reason, and they formed this group, and they hold speak outs for the kids to come and talk, and they're supporting them, and the women are leading this struggle up there in Seattle. And there's a woman in Maryland. Her son was at a party, and his name is John Bowie, and he was at a party, and the cops came and they said they want to break up the party, and they said, wait, it's okay, it's just a party. And the cops beat him up, and they beat him up pretty bad, and him and his brother, and they went and they tried to fight this. They got their money together to fight these police, to say, you know, in a legal battle. And what happened is that a few months later, John Bowie ended up dead. He was strung up on the backstop of a baseball diamond, and they said it was a suicide, and all the evidence has disappeared for, you know, so the cops just sort of, oh, it was a suicide, he's having a bad time, and they've ignored it. And so his mother has gotten together, and she's been fighting this. She's been trying to investigate it. She's been trying to get the coroner's report. She's done all this work, and she's got people writing letters, and you know, it's a tough thing. They called her crazy. The cops say, oh, you know, she's just a lunatic. She's just, you know, this is what they say to women all the time. There are a couple other cases I know of around here where women have been trying to complain about the situation in their living situation, and the police won't respond to it. And they call child custody services on her and say, oh, she's crazy, she's endangering your child, because she's persistent, because she keeps making these complaints against the police. And it becomes scary, but we've got to fight it. We've got to all fight it. Yesterday we had a Cop Watch training, teaching people how to watch the cops, how to organize to fight the abuse. And a woman called up from Richmond, and she said this is a 70-year-old woman, and she said that she's got all these problems with, she sees all the youth in her neighborhood getting jacked up by the cops and getting pictures taken of them and getting files put on them. They're called gang members. And she said, she came to our meeting and she said that she wanted to fight this. She wanted to help them. She said she'd open her house to have the kids come and have meetings in her house. And she's a leader. She's a fighter. This is what we'd like to see.
Hi, my name is Nina Gelfand, and I'm a proud survivor of police rape and sexual assault. In 1989, within 24 hours of my going to the Oakland Police Department and reporting Officer Riley, he was arrested on 5 felony counts. 2 counts forced oral copulation, 2 counts sexual battery, and 1 count rape. Officer Riley was then a 5-year veteran of the Oakland Police Force who had already sustained 6 disciplinary actions against him. One of the actions was for beating a handcuffed prisoner and then lying to Internal Affairs about what happened. It was recommended at that time that he be terminated but he was instead retained. Currently, there is civil litigation pending in federal court. The suit is against Officer Riley as an individual and the City of Oakland. The City of Oakland is claiming that while there is a documented history of violence from this police officer, that they did not know, nor could they project, that he would erupt into violence of this kind. The Oakland Police Department has a dismal history of responding to women and of responding to charges of their police officers brutalizing women. I think it's time, and it has to happen now, that we take action, that we speak, that we not carry the shame of rapes and humiliations that are perpetrated on us, but that we turn it around and that we blame the perpetrator, because that is where it needs to be. There's a flyer here that says we demand the termination of Bernard Riley, who is currently on the streets armed and dangerous, unchecked and unsupervised, and I would ask and urge all of you to call and demand that he be taken off the streets, because he's not doing anyone any good, and we're all in potential danger from this man. I wanted to read something that I wrote.
Here so safely. People in this country are facing a depression. 10 to 12 million are already unemployed. In the boardrooms, there's a frenzy in the so-called cost-cutting, downsizing. Rich corporations, executives are throwing workers out of their jobs at a rate of $300,000 a month. Then they scapegoat welfare recipients and immigrant workers for the economic crisis. The government is cutting back all the vital social programs, but it has no money to build, more money to build prisons everywhere. They turn loose the Dukes and the Buchanans to whip up racism, divide workers and the poor to divert us from fighting back. They attack women's rights in lesbian and gay communities. The media feeds us bad news every day. They want us to feel battered, paralyzed, overwhelmed. The conventional wisdom is to wait for the elections and to hope for the best from the politicians. But neither the politicians, Republicans, nor the Democrats have anything to offer. Just empty promises. We're suffering now and we can't wait. You know, it really surprises me. Every time I see Bush, Mr. and Mrs. Bush get on their jet plane, and they go to another country, or they go somewhere, and I know that just starting that jet plane with that jet fuel could increase General Motors. They could fund Sears. They could fund Woolworths. They could open up the mom and pop stores on the corners in the minority neighborhoods and fund them. They give low interest rates to Russia. They drop what Russia owes us. Why can't they do that to our own community and to our own country? If you don't want to give anything to children and women in this country, why don't you give something to the Vietnam vets and the veterans of this country? Make them as wealthy as they are. Show America that you do care about somebody. If it's not women and children, you do care about somebody. Because we are all here because we're losing faith in our so-called Democrats and our so-called Republican parties.
English translation, America crucified. America, in this poem, does not refer to the USA. America is the name that Latin Americans use for the whole continent, for all the Americas from northernmost Canada to the southernmost tip of South America. The U.S. imperialists have stolen the name America, like everything else, for themselves alone. To see your history, young woman, America, they say you were crucified by the colonialists. First the Spanish with the curse of Malinche, who massacred your Indians, your brown skin like flowering gourds, and like the strong clay of your land. Mother, forest, pure, they violated your beauty.
your wealth of colored gold. For mirrors and dearth of color, they spoiled your image in the darkness. Those bearded men massacred our people, our America. Purification and mutilation of women, body and soul. Virtually all over this planet, the system brutalizes women from the violence of rape to the oh-so-everyday normal occurrences of harassment and humiliation in the home, the workplace, and on the streets. This worldwide system of greed and plunder is attempting to take away women's right to abortion. This is akin to reinstating slavery. It's an attempt to control women by controlling their reproduction. This is a key part on the war on women. On the other hand, today in Peru, we see the women making war on the system. Oppressed people are standing up in the Maoist People's War, which has been raging since May 1980, led by the Communist Party of Peru, also known as Sendero Luminoso. Women have been unleashed as military and political leaders in the party and the People's War after being subjected to centuries of rape and other forms of oppression. It has been estimated that a majority of women make up this Maoist party, that half of the attacks are often led by women, that there are women in leadership in the high numbers, and that the people's committees formed in the Andes among the peasantry in the liberated zones are often mainly women. Today, over 1/3 of Peru's population now lives in areas largely controlled by the revolution. These base areas make up the growing New Democratic People's Republic of Peru. Those who have never had any political power in their lives, the workers and the peasants, women, progressive forces among the middle classes, are smashing the oppressive apparatus of the old order that have enforced impoverished conditions on the majority of Peru's people. These common people are establishing their own people's committees which create new politics, new economics, and new culture. And women, they play an active role in land reform, seizing the land from the local landlords, the tyrants, and redistributing the land, and in establishing and collectively farming the land. Women are in the front lines to overthrow semi-feudalism, bureaucrat capitalism, and imperialism, which have been a tremendous burden on the indigenous people for centuries. Pigs like George Bush and Yeltsin trumpet the death of communism, while the revolution in Peru threatens to come to power in a major country in South America. The U.S. government is right now escalating U.S. military intervention to try to crush this revolution and to try to crush any attempt of the oppressed people to establish a new society. There is a challenge for women and men in this country who support liberation and who stand with the oppressed in Peru and all over the world to come out and strongly oppose and stop U.S. intervention in Peru. It's a challenge for all women and all men here in the U.S. to stand with our revolutionary sisters in Peru who today are celebrating this International Women's Day with other oppressed sisters around the world. And we say, stop U.S. intervention in Peru, Yankee go home, stand with the revolutionary women in Peru, and support the People's War in Peru. Thank you.
Raw bags going around for donations now.
Often to be the bastion of intolerance, the bastion of violence. And what we're saying is we as women will no longer allow that to continue, that we as women insist on our right and our freedom to bleed. We will bleed. Now there are a bunch of these fake pregnancy screening clinics that are popping up all over the country. They bring women in, they lie to them, they terrorize them about pregnancy tests. And what's happening from that is that women are becoming fearful. The accusation that abortion is murder, which is an accusation out there that we really have to come to grips with. That the reality is that we as women in our incubator state, I kind of think of it as walking around with a 10-pound aquarium for a while. That you got to realize if you don't want to carry a 10-pound aquarium for 9 months, you shouldn't be forced to do that. But that without medical intervention, a fetus is not a human being to be able to live out of the water environment, out in the air, until 36 weeks of pregnancy. We're talking 8 months. We need to deal with the fact that there are misconceptions and lies about fertility. The silent scream is an attack against women.
women, and that we need to recognize that and fight against it. The International Women's Day, what we need to do today and every day is get out in the streets. We need to make sure that people understand what we're doing. We need to deal with the cultural community and understand that all women are suffering. All women are under siege. And today we say, put on your combat boots!
Personal experiences of rape and sexual abuse. I've been too traumatized to even talk about it until now, so I thought it would be a big deal to do that. But I decided not to because in the scheme of things, it's not important. It's not news. It's nothing every woman here hasn't experienced herself already, right? We all have our stories of undeserved humiliation, degradation, threats, and actual violence. We all get varying doses of it every day, from men we know, from men we don't know, sometimes even from other women. We've all seen the damage done to ourselves and others, all the way up to insanity and suicide. Women's oppression is a fact of life. So instead, I decided to talk about this problem and its solution. The state is the source of women's oppression. Through all its powers and institutions, it simultaneously perpetrates, encourages, profits off of, blames us for, and then denies our exploitation and the violence that terrifies us every day of our lives. Women live in a constant state of terror and suppressed rage. A woman is battered every 18 seconds, raped every 5 minutes, murdered every 2 hours and 10 minutes in this great land of democracy. And the state is at the root of it. Violence against women takes many forms, from enforced poverty to enforced pregnancy to enforced sterilization to the real violence inspired by the glamorized sexual violence of the entertainment industry, to pornography, to police brutality, and on and on and on. 1 in 3 women is a victim of rape, but that's acceptable. 11 women are murdered every day. No big deal. At the same time, women are systematically denied the right to defend themselves. 80% of women who kill or injure men attacking them are incarcerated, regardless of how many years they may have been battered or raped by their attackers. The state oppresses our men, then turns them on us. The state teaches men that women are their enemies and their inferiors. The state teaches men that violence against women is part of male right, an acceptable outlet for the anger they are not allowed to direct against the state, when in fact men should be women's allies against our common enemy. Fuck this shit. We should not allow ourselves to be divided and conquered this way. We need to be working together to solve the problems we face between us among ourselves. Women, we cannot allow ourselves to be offered up as human sacrifices. We have to fight back, defend ourselves and each other. And men, you enlightened ones, have got to stop letting things slide. Take a stand and teach other men to stop objectifying, degrading, and battering their sisters. You can do it, and you should. So if the state is the source of these problems, and it is, then how can we appeal to the keepers of the state for justice? Vote for what? The same senators, congressmen, and so-called justices who are career rapists, johns, adulterers, and woman haters? What kind of illusion is that? It's an illusion that serves the interests of our oppressors. This society has made women into slaves, not just women, but especially women. Have slaves ever voted themselves to freedom? Let's be real. I was a dupe for the system for 10 years, but I figured some things out. I know what my interests are, and my eyes are open enough to see who represents them and who doesn't. And I don't mean just my interests either. There are millions of people in the world way worse off than me. So now I'm a revolutionary communist. There is only one way we will ever be liberated, and that's by taking control, seizing power. All Ultimately, we need to make revolution. We need to overthrow this state, this violent, exploitative system, this nightmarish way of life. Yes, I'm talking about violent revolution. Listen to what I'm saying. Violence is a reality we face every day of our lives. We won't get beyond it until we get rid of its source, and that's a fact. For example, the revolutionaries in Peru are not holding elections or negotiating with the enemy. They're kicking ass. It's people's war, and it's winning. Peruvian women are not waiting around to be liberated. They're wielding guns, political power, and Maoism. After power is seized, they are not going back to the kitchen. Neither did the women of revolutionary China 25 years ago. Neither will we if our leadership is correct. I'm going to say this. Oppressed people, and especially women, should support the RCP. If you don't know enough about the RCP or have enough agreement with it to support it, you should at least be reading The Revolutionary Worker. People who live in this country need to raise their level of political sophistication. Remember the media coverage of the Persian Gulf massacre? Does the American media ever tell the truth about anything? As intense as things have gotten and continue to get, it's hard to believe how many people still have faith in this rotten-ass system. Chairman Mao said, a revolution is not a dinner party. Neither is the New World Order. How many more years of democracy for the rich and dictatorship for the poor? I'll choose revolution any day. Mao also said, political power grows out of the barrel of a gun, yet lots of peoples around the world have picked up the gun and still lost. Without correct leadership, we can't win. I mean Marxism, Leninism, Maoism. Please get your eyes open to what that's about. Communism is neither dead nor obsolete. Communism is the future. We can't create a new society where oppression no longer exists until we destroy the old one where oppression is the rule. I truly believe we people are capable of doing that. But until the time is right, when we can launch into revolution, we need to get politically prepared and united. We need to learn about each other and from each other. We need to talk, work, and study together, and to support one another across lines of nationality, gender, and class, because we need each other. It's going to take hellish sacrifice to kill this beast. History shows there's no lack of courage among the people. But leaders are not born, they are made. There are many leaders among us women and men, women especially. Let's all strive to be leaders. Break the chains, unleash the fury of women as a mighty force for revolution. And happy International Women's Day to all my sisters around the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can people, one thing in particular that's pissing me off right now that I want to talk about for a second. One of the tools that is used for oppression, for both women, for revolutionaries, for the masses in general, is what I'm going to talk about in a second. Media. Media has taken the place of religion as the opiate of the masses. And what we know is that media does more. It does more than numb our brains to what's going on out there. It does more than just make us sit down and be quiet. It actually creates new shackles for us, particularly for us as women and as women of color. Women work hard. Women work their asses off, okay? In industrialized countries, women work literally twice as hard as men, thank you. In non-industrialized countries, women do 5 things for every 1 thing that a man does. That is cataloged and proven statistically. If women kept on working as hard as we do, without any new shackles to our freedom, any new shackles to our liberation, then we will really quickly see that we are not only a mighty force for revolution, I think we are the mighty force for revolution, okay? And so this
who said, oh shit, these women are kicking ass. We got our combat boots on and shit. And they had to come up with something pretty damn quick, to keep us quiet, to keep us down. And one of the things they came up with that was pretty clever, they got together and they used media as a tool. They used advertising, television, film, the industry as a tool for the continued oppression of women. They created a barrage of images that literally form an attack on women. Something to make women feel, to further the disenfranchisement of women, to make women tired, to keep us unempowered, and primarily to keep us poor. A few examples, there's a $33 billion thinness industry that's out there, that's grown exponentially since the women's movement of the 1970s, okay? So they created a barrage of images that rose exponentially to the rate in which women were demanding their rights and equality in the workplace and were really hitting the streets. Between 1979 and 1980, in 1 year, the number of articles in the print media that were related to beauty and diet rose from 66 in 1 year to 60 in 1 month. This is a purposeful exponential increase to form an attack on women, okay? The age of the average model in print, film, and television has dropped dramatically. The weight of the average model has dropped to 23% below the national average for a healthy woman. These are. Oh, I'm so upset I can't even talk.
Go ahead, girl. Take it down.
I lost my train of thought. All right. One thing that I want to add is that, none of this shit is really about the way women look. When they tell women, in these ads that we're supposed to be young, they know we're never going to stay young no matter how much beauty cream we buy. It's to keep us from rallying with older, more powerful women, because the older we get, the more power we have. And when they tell us that we need to get skinny, they know that a healthy woman, if she drops 23% of her body fat, her body's going to fight back, right? They know that's not going to happen. They want us to keep on giving them money, and literally starving ourselves. We wind up paying for our own oppression. Now, there have been a couple, 1 or 2 films and, articles out there that talk about media images and women. But I get really frustrated because a lot of them talk as if, this is a problem, a psychological problem for women, as if women are neurotic or something, We just naturally run around feeling, like we have no self-esteem, feeling worthless, and like we need to hack off, the powerful and sexual parts of our bodies, our thighs and our breasts and our hips, hack them off with the cosmetic surgery, so that we can pay them for our oppression. Now, and what I see in these films is I see them saying, okay, women have these problems and they need to go and they need to seek some kind of psychotherapy, or they need some kind of spiritual healing, or another goddamn support group. But what we know is that what we really need to do is we need to fight back. Because this isn't in our heads. We are not crazy. This is an attack on women. This is a tool that is used, okay? They use the refusal to fight AIDS as a tool for oppression. Okay? Rape is a tool for oppression. Rape by the pigs, okay? And this is just another tool of oppression. And so we know that what we need to do to fight it is we need to smash that shit. And that's what we're going to start doing in another second. Because we can't, this is in our heads. We're going to fight back. We're going to smash both, you know, the tool that they're using as well as the whole damn thing.
You want me to say now? Come on, let's go.
Anybody got any matches?
Oh, there we go! Yes! Like it. I do. So, please, I really do.
There's one of those plastic ones. You know, they started making them out of plastic and everybody's burning them.
In the middle, big drop money makers in the party, you know what I want. I went to a party, outside, man, the freedom for ID. Down now, we say, girls, anybody want to come up and shout us so we get the crowd burning? To the VIP boys, I said, hey, I like it. Let the motherfucker burn! Burn, motherfucker!
stays on track. The wax can't be scratched unless spin is deep, so she can catch it on time. So then I can rock the book.
Since 1969, Peralta College District, which includes Laney and Vista, has had an ethnic studies department. They were the first in the country to start one. Yet they still have no women's study department. This has got to change. We need to get a women's studies department started. We need to take their anger and turn it into action. Come up here and speak and let people know that you are angry. If any of you have other events that you want to make known, that you need help with, that you want people to know, come on up. Let the world know that you are pissed off and you will not take it any longer.
That you still like in life, dirt bikes and women, all of the above. Women and dirt bikes are the same to that guy. You're walking down the street with naked women on his body like we were toys. And they can jump as a car out at us and terrify us because they think we are the same as dirt bikes. And they can hit us in the street because it's amusing to them. This was in Emeryville. And it's just that I'm living in terror every day. I walk home at night from my job at 11 o'clock at night and I am a scared port, and it's not because I'm crazy, it's because I've been constantly attacked. It's because men think it's amusing to shove their dicks in my face, or they want to hit me because I don't want to suck their dick. Alright, you all can think about the rest of that. Somebody else come up here and say something. And I don't want to see any man laughing about this, so I might just go haywire.
Here, I'd like to introduce the Supreme Court Justice of the United States of America, okay? Come on up.
We was born to dance or shake it out there to
Let's let go. Well, I want to hear what people have to say about this shit. I want to hear people talk shit to this guy. I want to hear some rep, you know what I'm saying? You want to talk shit? You are a stupid pighead. I would like to give the justice of the Supreme Court an abortion.
Don't understand the way you.
Who else? Does anybody else want to talk to this guy? Someone else. Well, what do you think we should do with this guy?
Bunch of white assholes. I can wear my hair long. I don't need to shave, and I'm proud to be a woman. You don't have to tell me how to act, or I'm not going to act the way you want me to. Your laws are not my laws. My body, my life, my right to party.
We came out here today, and this event is called Your Mama Wears Combat Boots. And why does she wear combat boots? She wears combat boots because she's kicking ass. She's kicking ass for 500 years, and that's what we're going to do in the Supreme Court Justice. Anybody want to take a kick? Go ahead. There you go. Abort the court! 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 Abort the
Believe E-M-C-E-E, a glass soul is making G's. Save that crap, I got my public to rap to. Try to play.